tell me whose it is, and then go on from there. Um, you will need one source, usually the book, and one other source, an article. So don't make it too hard. Don't you know? Don't put more into it than what you really need. Okay, like I said, critical thinking is all about this course. Analysis of facts to form a judgment. The subject is complex. Several different definitions exist, which generally include irrational, skeptical, unbiased analysis or evaluation. Okay, so basically, critical thinking is communicating, keeping your mind open, solving the problems, and creativity in analysis. Okay, so chapter 1 is all about business strategy, and business, the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do as much it is choosing what to do. Strategy is about making choices, trade-offs. It's about deliberately choosing to be different. So says Michael Porter. I always start off this chapter with talking about IBM, the mission statement, a company's primary purpose that often specifies a business or business in which the firm intends to compete or the customer intends to serve. So IBM is, their mission statement has been the same for over 100 years, to lead in the creation, development, and manufacturing of the industry's most advanced information technologies. Now, one of the things IBM has been very good at is keeping to their mission statement throughout history, not always keeping to their ethics, but their mission statement is something that they keep to. And even though good ethics, bad ethics, they're always true to their mission statement, such as the Holocaust, how they helped the Nazi Germany round up a bunch of Jews, keep track of them with their machines, and helped eradicate many of the Jews. So even though they are true to their mission statement, they're not necessarily always true to what is right and what is wrong, but they are very consistent with their mission statement. Okay, so we are going to follow along the book here. Let me take a look at the notes real quick. It's going to be 10 people to a group or thereabouts. All right. So we're going to follow the book along in its format and its chapters. I'm going to add to the book quite a bit, a lot of the different concepts. So internal and external analysis, chapter 2, chapter 3. Chapter 4 is going to be cost advantage, differentiation advantage. And we're going to go on so forth, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down. We're going to cover all 14 chapters of the book. Excuse me. Business strategy. A plan to achieve competitive advantage. A competitive advantage is knowing what markets to compete in, what unique value the firm will offer in those markets, the resources, capabilities required to offer the unique value better than its competitors, and ways to sustain the advantage by preventing imitation. Okay, so chapter 1 is all about the SWOT analysis, internal and external, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So not only will we go over companies like Cobra Beer, but we also do examples of Walmart and other examples to show you the different types of ways companies use competitive advantage, the way they use the SWOT analysis, and other techniques to get into a competitive advantage. So Cobra Beer is an Indian beer company. They started out in India. They branched out. They're in up to, I think, 5 countries now, manufacturing their own beer. So the beer industry is very, very competitive. You raised your hand. Do you have a question? Karen, you had a question?
No.
No?
No, sorry about that.
That's all right. All right. Okay, so like I said, we're going to use different companies to help elaborate on what we're talking about when it comes to SWOT and other concepts of this in the book and in the chapter. Okay, so business is growing rapidly. Brewing was switched from India to United Kingdom in order to meet demand. Apparently, resources and other things are easier to get in United Kingdom than they were in India. Okay, since the inception of the beer brand has expanded to a global level, presence in 4 continents, brewing plants in 5 countries, currently exported to 40 different countries. So they've kind of grown quite quickly and quite internationally. They haven't always done it on their own. They've had some help. Um, but what makes Cobra beer so unique is its authentic Indian recipe, a unique blend of malted barley, hops, yeast, corn, and rice. A lot of beers don't use corn and rice. They just use the hops and the barley. Even in some countries, it's illegal to brew beer that way. So Heineken versus Cobra beer. So the SWOT analysis for Heineken, established track record as a brewer with international success. Heineken owns over 200 different brands of beer. So as you know, they might be quite saturating the market. The weaknesses grow so large, there is little room to expand their market. So they've pretty much gone everywhere, been everywhere. Opportunities, there are a few markets still available to Heineken. But with Cobra Beer, there's still a lot of markets available. So you can see the opportunities there. And then with the and threats, Anheuser-Busch, some of the largest, world's largest brewing companies, control over 80% of the beer market. So Cobra Beer, the internal strengths, brewing locations, market share made to accompany Indian food dishes, actually made to go with food, as opposed to a lot of these other beers that are just made to drink. Okay. Some of the other problems that weaknesses is high debt. Coors Molson helped them out a little bit. They're growing too quickly, so sometimes they spread out too far, grow too quickly. They kind of lose track of what their actual market is. Okay, external threats, competition, cost of production in a new country, not being able to obtain ingredients, pests, political, economical, social, and technological. This will expand on this later in the quarter. Opportunities, expand to new markets, introduce new products for new markets, and new locations for new customers. So Cobra still has a ways to grow. They still have new markets that they can go into. So that's the SWOT analysis compared to the beer industry. So what markets to pursue? What industry, product, geographic markets are most attractive? These are all the things that strategies, how to achieve competitive strategies, unique value to offer, resources and capabilities to develop and sustain advantage. Okay, so this is what strategy looks like in a Venn diagram. Your customer's needs, you offer what you're offering, your product, and your competitors offer. So if you can meet all 3 in the middle, then the sweet spot, you'll definitely have a competitive advantage. How Cobra Beer, by pairing their beer with food, they have a competitive advantage over Heineken, which is just kind of a, drinking beer for all occasions. Okay, so what questions do you have for me for this so far? Anything? You guys still awake? Look at the notes. Okay, you guys doing group me? That's good. All right. Anything else? All right. Okay, Walmart's going to be your mini case. It's going to be due 113. Talk a little bit about that. What makes Walmart a strategic management competitive advantage? knowing what markets to compete in or not to compete in, when to get out, what unique value the firm will offer in those markets, the resources and capabilities that Walmart has to offer, and ways to sustain the advantage by preventing imitation. So obviously Walmart has not let anybody imitate them. I know they're not sexy like Amazon and some of these other big companies, but you know, Amazon is trying to do is actually making physical locations as opposed to where Walmart has already done that for many, many years. Okay, so these are the questions I'm going to post. Why has Walmart been successful? What is the single most important factor? Cost of goods, labor, rent, advertising, all this other stuff you guys are going to read in your mini case books in the back of your textbook. So why can't Walmart's competitors imitate Walmart? Why is it hard for Target to do that? I know Target's a little bit different, and some of you like Target, some of you don't like Target, some of you like Walmart. But those are the two major players. Why do you think Walmart has had difficulty seeding foreign markets? Is another question I'm going to ask. And then you got your bricks to clicks and your clicks to bricks. So why Walmart is trying to create an internet presence where Amazon already has one. Amazon is trying to create physical presence, like with the Whole Foods. They're buying up companies like Whole Foods. They're partnering with companies like Kohl's on returns and things like that. So you can't always be 100% online, and you can't always be 100% in the real world like Walmart. Okay, so what's new and true? I posted your discussion sessions. You're going to be doing those on, they're going to be due Friday. That's part of your class participation. What you're going to do is you're going to post a discussion of yourself, and then you're going to reply to someone else's discussion. So make sure you get this done. Any questions on chapter 1? No? All right. For you, those of you who are having, who need devices, UCR is giving out free devices, loaner devices. So if you're tired of taking my class on your cell phone, you want to get a tablet or a laptop, they provide some of that kind of stuff. Yes. Questions? The mini chapter questions are not posted. They are for you to decide. That's part of the critical thinking I was talking about. So you pick a subject, what we're talking about in the chapter. You pick a current event, current subject, and you write a page about it. Okay, does that answer your questions?
So it's on the book or not? So you mean it's not on the item?
It's all in your head. You pick out whatever you want from the chapter of a concept that we talked about, and you relate it to a current event. That is the critical thinking part of it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So the mini quiz, the mini cases like the Walmart, I will post those questions, like similar to what we just went over. I will post those, and then you can answer. Yes, the slides will be posted on iLearn. I post all the slides. As you can tell, we're live on YouTube. So if you want to go back and look on the class, what we talked about, I have a YouTube channel. So you can go back and do that. I will also post a recording of the class on iLearn.
Hello, Professor. I had a quick question. So I'm on your YouTube channel right now. Are you going to be renaming the titles since right now all the videos are all have the same name?
No, not really.
Okay.
Is it going to be too confusing?
Should be fine.
I haven't had any problems before, so. Yeah, I'm not the hip hop artist on YouTube. Sorry about that. All right. Anything other questions so far?
Professor?
Yeah.
So for discussion, you said let's do Friday. We introduce ourselves and we answer the question. I also answer another person's questions as well, right?
You post a question. Yeah, you post a statement. Basically, what was it? About mission statements and unethical companies, I think it was.
Mhm.
So you post something, what companies you think have been acting unethical, and then you respond to somebody else who posted something.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you do that, you get 5 points. If you don't do that, you don't get 5 points. All right, let's see if this will work. All right, everybody can see this and hear it? Okay, so everybody kind of took a look at that video. So that's 20 years of cell phone competition. Nokia, we talked about, your book talks a little bit about Nokia. One time they had 40% of the market, which is competitive advantage. And almost overnight, they lost almost everything. So even at one point, they had Nokia, Apple, and Samsung, what took 75% of the market. is this doing that? Oh, yeah. Okay, so go back to the slideshow. All right. So Nokia, your book talked about how Nokia lost competitive advantage. Basically, the profits plunged by 68%, lost 10% market share overnight. Stocks fell 86%. So what happened? Basically, they kept trying to do their own software instead of integrating with other companies and taking advancements, technological advancements. They tried to push the 3G through and couldn't basically make it. Other companies that's happened, that's lost their competitive advantage. Kodak film, the Polaroid, making a small comeback these days. Borders, so Amazon totally destroyed Borders bookstores. Toys R Us has basically been destroyed. And General Motors, which is a whole new company than when it was 100 years ago when it started off. So they completely shut everything down, redid the whole company, and if you had stock in GM, too bad, it was lost. And I had some friends who lost a lot of stock. So chapter 2, external environment. We're all about Porter's 5 forces. Attractiveness of U.S. industries. Your book has this figure. So these are, if you want to start an industry, a company, soft drinks is a really good company. Pharmaceuticals is always good too. Or if you want to be an accountant, those are in the top percentage-wise, all the way up from privately held companies on up. Okay, so this is all about Porter's 5 forces. This chapter, threat of new entries, buyer power, threat of substitutions, supplier power, competitive rivalry. So exactly for the, as I just showed you the last 20 years, how highly competitive the rivalry has been in the cell phone industry. Competition among firms within an industry. Typically, this involves firms putting pressure on each other, limiting each other's profit potential by attempting to steal profits and/or market share. So the more market share you can grab, the less profit margin is going to be left for everybody. Okay, so this is what your book uses for rivalry to do a comparison analysis. You might get to use this for your final project. So threat of new entrants, for example, airlines, car industries, those are kind of economies of scale type things where you're not just going to have $1 billion sitting around and start an airline industry. Of course, so the banks are more willing to loan you money for an airline industry because they know if you go bankrupt, they can use the planes and get the money back for the planes. Barriers to entry. So scale of economies can be a barrier to entry, like the aerospace industry. Capital requirements, you can't just build a rocket on a few $1,000s and just get into the industry, no problem. It's going to take billions of dollars, research, and all this other good stuff, like SpaceX has been doing for quite a few years. Scope of economies, switching costs, access to scarce resources, learning curve, for example, Honda. Your book uses Honda as a learning curve. They've been making motors for many, many years. It's hard for people to compete on that. Okay, so product complexity, entry deferring regulations. The supplier power, narrow the seller options of the supplier through the market mergers and alliance, buy up the competition. For example, in my industry, we do office equipment, Xerox, Lexmark, HP, Samsung. Those companies are actually consolidating and buying each other up. Develop alternative sources of supplies, ally with suppliers. Walmart can put product on over almost 11,000 store shelves overnight. Diversify product offering to diminish dependence of your business in any particular supplier. The buyer power, For example, differentiate your offerings so that it's unique. So that's not just a chair, but a work of art. Not my taste, but some people like it. Buyers have less power when your product offers something that is unique. Switching cost, customer relation management software is very expensive to switch once you spend millions of dollars investing in a CRM. It's going to be very costly to switch over. And also works of art. Okay, and then the buyer power, narrow the option of the buyer through market consolidation or exclusive alliances. For example, hotels. There's only a few major hotel chains now. Most of them are all owned by one of these three companies. All the different types, even the Airbnbs are kind of being monopolized. And buyers have less power when there are fewer options. For example, airlines, there are fewer airlines now. Pharmaceuticals and banks. Banks are one things that have been consolidating quite a bit. Threat of substitutes, creating switching costs for your buyers. When I do this class live, I do a taste test, a blind taste test, and 9 out of 10 people prefer RC Cola over Coca-Cola or Pepsi. I don't understand why, but when they don't know which brand it is, they prefer the RC Cola. So, you had a question, Ricardo?
Yeah, you mentioned that Airbnbs are getting monopolized. How so exactly?
The Airbnb is a monopoly itself. There's no competition other than the hotels.
Oh, okay, perfect, got it.
Sorry, misspoke. You can explain specialist knowledge a bit. Okay. So substitute goods. So like when Coca-Cola does their coupons or raises its prices, people buy Pepsi and vice versa, along with Burger King and McDonald's. Those, substitute goods. So when the price, very price sensitive, especially college students. When I was in college, I lived off of Taco Bell, 69-cent burritos or whatever they were back then. So when the price of other food is higher, you would switch to the lower cost. Okay, complementary goods. So when you're buying s'mores in the winter, so when chocolate bars, demand for chocolate bars goes up, so does marshmallows and graham crackers. The hot dogs in the bun. And ladies, of course, you can't buy a new pair of shoes without getting a purse, right? So examples of the airlines. So this is the Porter's 5 forces when we're going to compare that to airline, the threat of entrance. Entrants have cost advantages, moderate capital requirements, little product differentiation, deregulation of governmental barriers. Buyer power, buyers extreme price sensitive, good access to information. Threat of substitutes, there's really no substitute for an airline. For a long distance, you really don't want to take a car or a train. I mean, you can, but it's not very, as far as time-wise goes, it's going to be, nothing compared to flying cross country in a few hours. So many companies, little differentiation in the rivalry. And then other supplier power. So this is an example of Porter's 5 forces for the airline industry. Okay, so Porter's 5 forces for the beer industry. So it's highly competitive. Young persons are ready to try new brands. I'm not a young person, but I like to try a new brand every once in a while. So that's something that's always good. New markets that can be explored by the Cobra beer. So basically they built their success off of making beer to the taste to go along with the pairing of food. Increased market offers in the US, Australia, and Africa. So there's still some markets for them to invest. And then I talked about earlier, sometimes it's illegal to brew beer in certain countries using certain ingredients. So the German Reinheitsgebot is you only use 4 ingredients: water, hops, barley, yeast. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so threat of substitutes, you got wine, spirits, and other drinks, seltzers. Getting out a traditional method of brewing into finding new ways to better off their product regarding flavor and quality. So seltzer drinks, wine products can also accompany foods, and they can also be made to accompany Indian foods. So that would be an example of threat of substitutes. Okay. Bargaining power of customers. Due to the certain recession, prices and tastes have gone down. Highly priced premium beers may not realize much revenue from their beer sales anymore. A question? Okay. Manufacturers are always on the watch for strategies that other market players take. The survival of Cobra beer depends on developing excellent brands at the right price. So bargaining power of suppliers, beer is manufactured in custom ways using complex materials. So what Cobra does is they build relationships with suppliers, and they usually sign contracts up to 4 years or longer. So that would be the bargaining power of the suppliers. So that is your competition. The beer industry is a mature industry, like my industry and the office equipment industry, very mature, very competitive. The top 5 brewers control 80% of the market. So that's companies like Heineken, Anheuser-Busch. Heineken sells over 200 different brands. Anheuser-Busch, the same. Molson Coors. So these companies all have these huge, huge offerings. So that's the competition. All right.